Hi everybody, this is a slightly different video to what I would normally do. As you can see, I'm actually in my living room rather than in my upstairs office. And it's actually quite fitting because today's video is a different type of video. Today's video is a property investing video. It's a first of the channel, and it's actually derived because I've just finished reading a book called The Property Magic, which is this book here. And if you've not read it before, it's a fantastic read if you are a first time or looking to get into property for the first time. It does focus about buy-to-let properties and investing, so not if you're a first time buyer looking for a residential home. So I guess why did I start reading this book? Well, it really derived from my ambition to buy my first buy-to-let in the next 12 months. The book is great for beginners, and I sort of stumbled across it because I looked on YouTube, and actually the resources for UK property investing aren't that great on YouTube at the moment. There's a handful of channels at the moment, none of which really started from the beginning, which is what I'm looking to do. I am looking to document my progress on purchasing a buy-to-let and everything that I do in terms of sourcing the property, showing you guys around the property when I eventually get it, how I found it, talking you through the numbers and the cash flow that I get each month. If that is something you guys would be interested in, do be sure to smash the like button on this video to enable me to know that you guys like property investing videos like this. This one is just what I've learned from the Property Magic book, but the future ones will be very much documenting the process that I'm going through in terms of buy-to-let purchasing. So that's all the rambling done. Let's actually get into what this video is about. So that is the Property Magic book. The Property Magic book first wants you to decide which type of investor you are. So are you an investor who is looking for capital appreciation or more regular cash flow? And first you have to decide which one you are based on what your desired outcome from property investing is. Some people are investing for their retirement, and therefore growth and things like that are very important to them. And some people are looking to replace their salaried income and therefore want cash flow coming in every single month. So more buy-to-let properties generating cash flow to you is what you want. And it talks about the different types of investments you might do depending on which type of investor that you are. So for instance, if you were a long-term capital appreciation investor, you might look at more smaller properties that are buy-to-let properties in growth areas where the property prices are continuing to increase and the rents are probably matching where you would see mortgage payments and things at. On the flip side, something called a HMO, which is effectively a property whereby lots of multiple tenants live in the property. And obviously each of them is separate and therefore pays a separate rent to you as the landlord. Obviously, if you've got 4 people in a house paying you 4 times of rent and your mortgage is only 1 payment and it's covered by 4 people and the costs are spread between the people, then obviously the cash flow on those are much bigger. But from reading this book, it sounds like they're a little bit more tricky or harder to do. It sounds like you need to have lots of discussions with your local council to enable you to apply for a certificate or some sort of permission to enable you to transform a house into a HMO. For me, it doesn't sound like what I'm looking to do. I think the first option of capital appreciation, a nice little bit of income, so if the rent was slightly above what the mortgage payment was, that would be fantastic for me. Secondly, it talks about finding motivated sellers. And it defines a motivated seller as somebody who is trying to sell a property quickly and isn't trying to achieve market value. And it refers to a term called BMV, which is below market value. And it suggests that any purchaser of a house for an investment purpose, it should be bought at below market value. Why is that? Well, the book talks about if there was a property that was valued at £150,000 and you bought it at £135,000, you would have effectively got a 10% discount, and therefore you've been buying it at 10% below market value. So what does that mean? Well, on a £135,000 purchase, typically you're going to need a 75% loan to value mortgage. And it talks about an appropriate loan to value mortgage being around 75%. And from my very brief research outside of this book, I still think that is the right amount of lending that mortgage providers like to have on a property. I know it does change depending on where the market is, and at some point in time, I think you could get buy-to-let mortgages with 10%, so 90% loan to value. But we'll take the 75%, which is 25% of the property in this example. So for those of you that are good at maths, you can obviously work that out as 25% needed for the deposit on £135,000. I'm trying to do the maths in my head very quickly, but I can't, but I'm assuming it's around £30,000. So you've obviously put your £30,000 in, you've got a property for £135,000 that's actually worth £150,000. Obviously you go through this process. If you were going to buy that property at £150,000 just out of interest, then it talks about you would need obviously 25% of £150,000, which would be nearer £40,000 than it would be £30,000. So you see how your deposit would be much higher. But the clever thing that it talks about is that at this point you now have equity in the house. So not only do you have your effectively 25% deposit that's equity in the house, but you also have the £15,000 discount that you got, which is now also equity in the house. So what happens next? Well, say that property then goes up to a value of £200,000, and this is very much just making up numbers here, but in the next 5 years. And obviously you're paying your mortgage off, but let's assume in this case that you're not doing capital reductions in your mortgage, you're just doing interest-only mortgages. I'm not going to go into detail of what they are, but it does give you a hint in the name that interest-only would not be reducing the capital on the house, you're just literally paying interest on the value of the loan that you've got. And it does talk about that in here. So it's at £200,000 now, and effectively the amount you've still got in this house is that £30,000 deposit that you put in, and actually the value of the property that you purchased was £135,000. So it's actually technically increased your value that you have in the house by £65,000 to get you to £200,000. You could then, if you wanted to, remortgage that house up to 75% of the value of the house as at this point in time, so 75% of £200,000. Which means you could effectively get a mortgage for around £150,000. And that's obviously without the deposit, because your deposit was already in the house. So £150,000 mortgage. It then talks about the difference between the £200,000 and what you originally purchased it as being your deposit, which you can then pull out because you've refinanced, effectively pushing the mortgage up. But you can then take out your deposit and deploy it into other types of investments. Or you could do it again in a different buy-to-let, which I thought was quite a cool strategy. But my next question was sort of, well, why would somebody want to sell a property for below market value? And they do talk that through in the book, and it really is due to a motivated seller. So someone who really, really wants to sell their house. That might be someone who's of old age going into a care home. That might be a marriage that's broken up and the two parties just want to get rid of the property as soon as possible. It might be that someone can no longer afford to pay the mortgage and therefore just want to get rid of it as soon as possible to avoid that outgoing of cash. There are multiple reasons why there might be motivated sellers. And I thought that was quite interesting because it almost sounded like you were going to be taking advantage of people who are in a vulnerable situation. But actually what the book is very clear on is having ethics in terms of who you're dealing with and making sure that it's a win-win situation. So they're getting something out of it and so are you. And what you're getting out of it is the below market value. And what they're getting out of it, in 9 times out of 10, what they want is a quick sale to enable them to get that cash in quickly. And so if you can offer a quick sale, you are in a better position to get a below market value price, but a fair price, which both parties see as a win-win. Finally, it talks about building a power team, which is effectively, if you're going to do renovations to a building, it's, your builders, estate agents, mortgage brokers, deal sourcers, people like that you start to build as part of your empire of property investing. You can't do everything on your own. You're going to need other people. It's about finding those people, whether that be from recommendations, and 9 times out of 10, you might know somebody already who could help you with that. So yeah, I thought the book was good. I mean, it's 170 pages. The font is quite big, so it's not a challenging read. And you can get through it probably quite quickly if you wanted to. It doesn't teach you anything that's revolutionary new, but it's great for a beginner like me who's looking to get started in buy-to-let properties, but it isn't sure where to start and doesn't know the terminology such as BMV, HMOs, things like that. So yeah, good book. But one downside of the book is that it was originally first published in 2008, and this is actually the 4th revision of it, but the 4th revision of it only goes up to 2012. And the fundamental problem with that is it talks about interest rates being at 5%, which, if any of you know, currently mortgages and prices currently are around sort of 1 to 2% interest rates. So 5% kind of does skew some of the numbers in here. And it does talk about, it does start to talk about some of the legislation that was coming in. But I think given that we're now 8 years after this 4th edition was released, I think there's been a lot of legislation that's come in that obviously affects landlords, and I wouldn't just rely on this book before investing. I would recommend this to anyone who is looking to get into buy-to-let like myself. It does say on the back of it that it costs £10.99. I actually picked this one up from eBay for £3, and I think that was with £1.50 delivery, so you can pick it up secondhand pretty cheaply. This is pretty much in brand new condition. As a thank you to my lovely subscribers on YouTube, I'm willing to give this book away. So if you comment below letting me know what you liked about today's video, if you'd like more property investment videos, and what I'll do is I will randomly select someone who will win this book, and I will send it out to you free of charge. So yeah, there's a little incentive to drop me a comment, take it one step further, drop me a like. And do be sure to subscribe to the channel for more property investing videos as I start my journey on property investing and specifically buy-to-let. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. It's been a different video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed being in my living room, which has been a bit different. And until next time, guys, I've been the Capitalist Investor. You've been YouTube. And until next time, peace.